there are no new media types coming, right? This is the way my kind of lens on the world is basically, there is video, there is audio, there are slides, there are lists, graphics, links, and text. We're not inventing any new content, right? So when ephemeral came out, it was just a feature of this type of content. It isn't a new piece of content. And these are the building blocks. So we've heard people talk about, Joe talked about the building, the smallest minimal viable unit of content. These are the building blocks that you can assemble other pieces of content from. I was sharing this with Noz, and he said, 3D print is the exception, touchable media, right? That's the extra senses we haven't actually tapped into yet. We haven't got smell-o-vision yet. But until such time, and don't go waiting to change your marketing strategy until smell-o-vision and touch comes along, these are your building blocks. So one of the most misused terms today is social media. It's very lazy. It's actually social and media. There are two things. They're really not, there's been no description of this. It just gets bundled in, right? And for me, there are 3.5 social networks. They are social networks because the people are at the center of social network, and the content revolves around the people. But the other side of the fence are media platforms where your content is center stage and the people revolve around your content. And if you don't see these two things as different, and you don't treat them differently, and you don't plan to utilize them differently, you're not playing the game based on the way these things work. And I think that's one of the biggest points and takeaways that I hope you get from this. If you hadn't thought of them differently, perhaps who thought of these as differently today, as a show of hands? Kind of very few, right? But they are different, and I'm going to drill into some more reasons why. So this is a shift that began in 2004 when Flickr came along, right? Flickr was like, oh, it's quite hard to share images. Oh, now it's easy, right? So they basically became a media platform for sharing images. They exploded, got acquired by Yahoo. YouTube came along in 2005. Scribe, SlideShare, SoundCloud. You can see the progression here through all of the different 7 media types that I kind of stated, that each of these tools have emerged to deliver that content. Now today, we wouldn't even dream of hosting our own video or hosting our own slide deck. We would use a platform to do that for us, right? But the reason that they took off was back in the day, it was actually hard to host video. But the reason they're massive today is because they're a social experience, they're a destination website to go and get content. It's not the technical problem that made them successful. That was the kind of trigger, but this trend has happened. And you can see here we're already in second generation image with Instagram, right? That's taken what was proven by Flickr, but they've made it much more fun and social and involved many more people in that process. So just to kind of be basic and really ram home this point, if you haven't got that, is if you host stuff yourself, you are on your own. The only traffic and traction you're going to get is stuff that's directly going to visit your owned media, your website. But if you utilize these, so upload your audio, upload your video, upload your slides, upload your lists, upload all of these types of content, you get your traffic from each of these sites because they are all search engines in their own right, and that bypasses Google. So a lot of search people are worried about, what are Google going to do to us next? Well, if you're involved in all of this type of content, you're actually sidestepping Google in that context anyway. YouTube is number 2 search engine, right? So it's just proof point to what I'm actually saying. And in addition to that, you can get massive amounts of traffic from people who come along and say, what a great slide deck. I'm going to embed that in my blog. I'm going to write my own commentary at it. What a fantastic TED Talk. I'm going to embed it on my blog, write some commentary. If you create socially compelling content, the audience is going to share that content, and it's going to transform how your story gets exposed. And it's all about breaking things down into shorter and shorter forms, right? So short form can be short form video. It doesn't have to mean Vine. You can make a 1-minute video and put it on YouTube, and that's going to transform. You basically discover then, because you get all these metrics, and so do other people get them. They see how many views you've had on your content. So today, it's funny, but I think very many marketing people think, well, I'll just get views, and I can't get fired if I've got lots of views on my traffic, right? But engagement's hard, so I won't shoot for that. But the way these systems work is if you can trigger engagement, you will get a lot more traction, because you'll get more views, right? Because the social feeds tell me that, you know, oh, such and such has published a new slide deck, or oh, Fred has commented on this on Facebook. It's much easier for people to share content if it's embedded. It's easy for them to re-embed it. It's easy for to like it. So that propels your content. I mean, as an example of this, I'm actually projecting today live from my slide deck, which is up on SlideShare already. As I said, I live what I preach. You know, I'm standing here presenting to you, and my slide deck is out there. I published it yesterday. It's had nearly 2,000 views already, right? So I'm here presenting to 100 people in this session today, plus the people online, but I've already had 1,800 views and shares and commentary, and it's going to be ongoing. So if you want to participate in an experiment, if you've got a computer in front of you, and you want to try this out to see the impact, is go to SlideShare, search for InfoSnacker, and you'll find the deck. And if you want to like that deck or comment on it, and I get enough people in the room to do that, come back and look at the traffic on that set of slides tomorrow, the day after, the week after. There's a big impact in actually the way you seed and start content. If you feed in all of that engagement, that is social proof. Assembling the first 5 people to view some content and comment is hard. But when other people turn up and see that it's got lots of views, right? Who chooses which videos they're going to watch on TED based on the number of views? Do you look at the views? Yeah, we all do, right? We're all metrics driven. Metrics are not for brands. That's the funny thing, right? We all started off thinking metrics are for brands. Metrics are for consumers. They know how to use those numbers, and they're just as important to them. How many likes a kid gets for his Instagram photo is more important to him than anything else. He will pose differently. She will pose differently to get more. And that's just human nature. It's how we've evolved. So as an example of trackable media, this is my profile on Listly, my profile on SlideShare, and my profile on YouTube. And I've made hundreds of lists. I've had 1,500 people helping me on Listly. I've had 500,000 views. On SlideShare, I've had nearly 170,000 views. I've managed to win some of their badges, right? They've motivated me to be, my content's been trending on Twitter, trending on Facebook, SlideShare of the day. I got an email from them saying, congratulations, you're in one of the top 1% content creators on SlideShare. So I'm getting all that validation that I am becoming, I've committed to make a body of work, and I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, but if you commit to a platform and become a master of that platform, you will get serious incremental multiplicative benefits, right? This stuff explodes. If you just walk past every platform, kick the tires and leave. If you say Twitter's going to fail, for me, it's not my kind of thing. Absolutely, you're guaranteed it will fail, right? You have to walk into this with an open mind and say, how do we make this work? Because each of these platforms has their own culture, okay? So metrics are everything. People look at this stuff and see, they judge your content based on the metrics. And one of the things to understand, as I'm going to talk more about body of work later, is, I'm almost embarrassed to think how many hours I spent making this slide deck. The accumulation of this slide deck came from multiple other slide decks. It's a scary number. But just assembling links, really quick and easy. Minutes to do. Simple curation, very, very quick and easy. Making lists, pretty quick. Making graphics, still pretty quick, a little longer maybe, especially if you get into infographics. And these are subjective numbers. They're just to give you an indication. This isn't any. But it's common sense that making a video or making a slide deck is more complex than other forms of media. This is an analysis I did of 3,500 blog posts across 130 blogs. And I basically wanted to ask this question, say, who is using what media, how often, right? And what we proved was 30% of people are using lists. So 30% of blog posts are list-centric posts, numbered list posts. Who reads numbered list posts here? That's a trick question, right? 10 ways to do this, 7 ways to do that. We click on that stuff because it says what it's about, It says there's 7 things on the list. You know it's skimmable. I'll be out of there in a minute, right? Content is appealing to people in different ways, and the reason there are so many list posts on the web is because we have Google Analytics and we go, these list posts get more traffic. Writers write more lists, and writers go, don't you tell me what to write. But that's the way it goes, right? That is the reality, is lists are driven in that way. Graphics are massively adopted as well because people get the idea that Facebook, text on top of images in Facebook drives social sharing, so people use graphics a lot. Infographics are very effective too. And I was quite surprised that video's there, but I was very surprised how low audio and slide deck adoption was. And to me, this is just, that's a massive opportunity. Like, why aren't you going to SlideShare, creating audio, going to YouTube, grabbing videos and embedding them in your blog and talking about them? It's the cheapest form of content. It's ready-made content that's been validated by the audience because it says it's got 1 million views or 100,000 views. You know this stuff is good, it's trusted, it's got social proof. It's cheap content that you can put out very quickly, very often. Who knows the word poem, the acronym POEM? I'm getting a lot of blank faces there. Okay, so POEM stands for Paid, Owned, Earned Media. It sort of came out about 3 years ago. It's just sort of a wave, a meme of, and it basically describes that, you know, there is certain content that's owned. You should have your own blog, right? Facebook is like a paid medium these days. It used to be a shared social medium, but if you want to engage on a brand on Facebook, come with your checkbook, right? Facebook is your landlord, and you're renting access to your fan base. And so earned media is where you get PR, or someone just writes about you, or someone embeds your content and shares your story, becomes a fan, and starts raving about you, or ranting about you. Like, it was you're always a risk with social media, someone coming along and, you know, you smashed up my guitar. Who's seen that one? Which airline was it? The guy? Yeah, there we go. See, I didn't even need to add, you know these memes, right? The killer shock for me with paid, owned, earned media is that consumers don't differentiate. They don't go, this is an advert. They earned that media. How good of them. You know, this is their blog. They don't think that. They just think it's stuff, right? We're consuming stuff. If you think this is fuzzy today, fuzzy is coming in, it's getting fuzzier. Like, when Oprah put books on her list, originally that was earned media. The author was like, hey, great. Oprah loves my stuff. It's free. Now there comes a price tag attached to that, right? Because she's morphed into being a media company of her own right, and she's monetizing the brand asset. This is what it means that every brand should be a media company, is you can monetize stuff if you create enough interest and eyeballs and engagement around your content. So to me, what's happened beyond, and I propose a new acronym called SCOPE, because 3 things have happened to me. First, to me, 3 things have happened to the marketplace. Content has got social, as I described, but you probably hadn't realized that. You wouldn't thought of it as separate from social networks. Collaboration is like the next big wave. We haven't really begun collaborating yet, but it's coming, and it's going to be enormous. And I'm not talking about collaboration inside the enterprise, because there's a few of you, but not very many. The people outside the enterprise will always, you know, outnumber you by millions to one. So that's the opportunity. You need to understand lurkers, because you're speaking. When I have a conversation, I'm always thinking about this invisible third person who's listening in, right? I would try and have every conversation online, and people go, what's that, Nick? What are you talking about? I've just engaged or enticed somebody to come into that conversation. So here's a model I just put up of just really to explain if you're struggling with where paid, owned, earned media is. This is not exhaustive. It just threw up some obvious blocks here, just to categorize what sits in each camp. As I said, these slides are available, so you can totally get them. Feel free to embed them, share them, like them, in the spirit of content. So beyond poem, right, the paid, earned, media side, social content is just a little more complicated. And so I've defined it as 3 things. There's shared links, curated content, and media platforms. I've talked about media platforms already, but you know, the way we source our content is really important. Like, the reason we always want stuff to share, I'm talking even consumers, love to have cool stuff to share on Facebook because it makes them interesting, right? We love that. The likes, the reshares, et cetera, right? So we're always looking for new stuff. So where do we go and find that? How do we share? What tools do we use to share the stuff? How do we collaborate? How do we share stuff together? How do I share your stuff and you share mine so we can make bigger stuff together, right? That's the models that are coming, and that's in the shared links section. Media platforms I've talked about, and curation is like, it's a quick win. How many companies say, I've got nothing to say, I don't know what I'd create, right? Well, you can start from rebuilding and standing on the shoulders of other giants by reusing and embedding their content. This stuff is easy. These are the tools you need to overcome people's objections if people tell you they can't create content.